My name is Richard Ward. I'm a relationship manager at LinkedIn, so I look after a pool of accounts on our enterprise account level. And really, my preference is this is as interactive as possible for you guys. So if you don't like the content I'm sharing or you want to move in a different direction, I'm not precious at all about what I'm about to show you, so ask away. The more questions I receive, the happier I am, really. So goal from me today is to talk about best practice for you guys on how to leverage LinkedIn for recruitment. So where we're at, just touch on membership. We're at 175 million members globally, still growing at 2 new sign-ups every second. So that stat has been out there for a while now, and it's pretty mind-blowing at times that that's consistent. Our goal is 640 million, and our opportunity is 3.3 billion. So that gives you a sense of where we're at and where we're going. For the UK, which is probably more relevant for today, we've just hit 10 million. So some of you may have seen our blog article or some news feeds around that. And that works out at about 4 out of every 5 professionals in the UK are on LinkedIn now. And that's a Comscore-led stat. Where we focus as a business is around making our members more productive and more successful. So if we get that right, that's our core focus, then we have an engaged network and a platform to leverage, and then we're able to run businesses such as what we currently call hiring solutions, and that's the recruitment focused industry. We base our business behind. Step away from recruitment for just a second, and we base our business on 3 core pillars. The first one being identity. So this is really about your professional brand, your identity on LinkedIn, how you connect with people, how you're found, how discoverable are you. Think of things like you're putting keywords into a website to get to the top of Google. You want to be thinking along similar lines for your profile on LinkedIn. And then we're driving an area called insights. We have a huge amount of data through our site, and how can we bring you insightful information. So a most recent example of that would be LinkedIn Today, which is when you log into your homepage and you see 3 main articles being shared with you. That's articles that are being shared from your network that are relevant to you by profession, by industry, etc. And you can customize that to make that your daily publication. And then everywhere is the third piece, and this splits in a few different ways. Firstly, mobile. We're at 23% of our traffic now is through mobile, and so that's becoming a significant chunk of the traffic we receive, and growing in importance for us. You'll see new iPad apps released over the last year, iPhone apps, etc. And then another side to everywhere is our API platform. So it's our developer site, so we have things such as you can bring in an app onto your website, encouraging people to follow you on LinkedIn, so building a community of followers. You can do things like apply with LinkedIn, so as a candidate goes through the application journey on your site, they can actually apply with their LinkedIn profile. So that populates the form for them, so it speeds up that candidate flow. And there's a variety of other things we're working through and getting LinkedIn outside the walls of the site. Quick piece on sort of why recruit on LinkedIn. It's a user-generated profile. So what we mean by that is it's self-published, self-updated by the member. So it's the most current set of data that or set of information, sorry, that you can get on a professional. The power of the network pulls that together, and then some keywords that we work on a lot and come up in every conversation I have is targeting and relevancy. So if you think of LinkedIn, there's so much information, so many layers of information in a profile or on a company page, then we can get very targeted about the messaging we send out to market, and we can make that very relevant. So there's a lot of conversation we could be having around targeting and relevancy. So right information at the right time in front of the right person. And then passive talent, that's been our sort of key positioning. I've been at LinkedIn for 4 years now, so definitely 2 years ago I would have only been talking about passive talent, Today, though, our message is changing slightly as we are 80% passive, 20% active candidates. And if you take the UK as a subset, then if we've got 10 million members and 20% of them are active as an average number, that's a pretty interesting active candidate pool as well. So, Bridget Hutchinson is does anyone know Bridget in the room? She's one of my clients. No? How do you not know Bridget? So great case study from Dixon's. They've really focused on how to build what they call an internal agency. So their direct sourcing model is all about it being an internal agency, so taking a lot of best practice from their in-house and saving money and cost saving. So there's more information behind this if you're interested to see what they do. There's a full case study around it. So one of the key areas on LinkedIn is focusing around becoming that employer of choice and where everyone, so that's a pretty broad statement, so how do you start? And it starts with yourself. So sort of first sort of rule of thumb is if you're going to recruit on a social platform, be social. So participate, get your profile in good shape, get your information there, present yourself correctly, build your own brand and your company's brand in that way. So there's a few areas to maybe focus on is your network. So there's different approaches and there is no exact rule as to what you do with your network, but do you want to just connect with everyone and anyone, or do you want to have a niche or a more tailored focus? And these are decisions you guys have to make. Other stuff that's really building on LinkedIn now is updates. So putting in personal comments on a daily, weekly basis, sharing articles, etc. And that's really how you start to build yourself out as that thought leader in your industry, in your market. And then obvious stuff that I'm hoping you guys are all comfortable and familiar with is things like recommendations and what groups to join, etc. And then it's really how to build your company. There's a few things. So 3 Mobile are running a really nice career page on LinkedIn. So when the candidate's looking for more information around their employer brand, their proposition, this is a destination page, and a lot of things link back to this. It's where your jobs are hosted, etc., and you feature your recruiters, that kind of information. Something that Hertz are doing well is building out their products and services tab. So less on sort of recruitment focus, but very much still led around the information that you can share with candidates. If you take a typical journey of a candidate or a LinkedIn member, they're going to look at your profile, they're then going to look at your company, and they're going to search for that information. And especially if they're passive, they're going to be doing their research. So if you want to warm up that candidate, convert them into applying or generate that interest, you need to be getting your message out there and have some level of communication. And then there's a wealth of data and tracking information. There's just a visual really of a graph that you can pull through, so you can see where the spikes in traffic are related to. If we posted a ton of jobs, what impact would that have on your company presence on LinkedIn? Are there any questions around that as I rattle through? No? Please ask questions. So some other ideas to throw out there is positioning your company as a thought leader. So everybody's kind of aware of and interested in groups, and we need a group, we need a recruitment focus group, etc. But the best ones I've seen are really around kind of innovation groups or thought leading groups. And kind of a parallel I often take is think of LinkedIn. It's a network and it has its priorities, but then you're able to recruit from it, and try and think of groups in a similar way. So if you build a group for an area of expertise and a professionalism and get your hiring managers or industry leaders from your company posting discussions and leading that conversation, then you as recruiters are able to be in that group and leverage that talent and find it. But if you start a group just for recruitment, you're going to struggle. That's more a personal opinion, not a LinkedIn opinion, but I wouldn't recommend that you go down that route. It's once the talent's been fished and those candidates have got jobs, then are they going to keep coming back to that recruitment group? Whereas if it's a an innovation group, they will do. So Statoil is an example here that are doing that pretty well. Then another area to be aware of is followers. So a lot of conversations I'm having around, we feel we need a group, but we don't have a community manager, or we don't have time. We can't be writing discussions. Maybe we don't even have buy-in from our exec board for them to be leading the discussions in that group. So what else can we do? Followers is an area where members can lightly attach themselves to your company and start following you, and then they receive updates on your jobs, on your posts as you're sharing articles through your blog, etc. So new roles coming in, people changing, movements. So people are just really lightly attaching themselves to your company and then following you through that way. And they're also members we're hearing like this because they're not receiving a kind of badge on their profile. So when you join a group, that pulls a logo onto your profile so people can see that you're now following or part of Group X. So followers is definitely an area that we're investing in. You're going to be able to start taking, so in this example for Saudi Aramco, 30,000 followers, we're going to start to be able to slice that audience up and take more targeted and relevant messaging through to specific audiences of followers. So they're people that are interested, engaged in your company, and then we can start pushing relevant content through to them. Here's just an example of KLM and how they're posting company updates that aren't recruitment focused. Remember, I'd say maybe 1 in 5 or 1 in 10 company updates should be around recruitment, and the rest is around bringing that added value. So looking at your employees and their networks, so a really simple tip. So who's posting jobs on LinkedIn? Give me a sense. Okay, good. And who's sharing jobs on LinkedIn? Excellent. You're ahead, so I'm telling you what you already know. So, sorry, but this is, for those that aren't aware, this is a very simple way of just virally pushing your jobs out to your network and further. So once you click that share button, you get this option here. So you share with your LinkedIn network. That's first. So if you've seen these comments coming through, I'm hiring, that's what people are doing. You can then share into Facebook, into Twitter. We allow you to share into Twitter still. And then you can share into groups and forward on to individuals. So the last one's probably the one that gets missed and can possibly have the most impact. So forwarding to individuals, this is where you want to be selecting that box, sharing with the hiring manager and their team or any professionals in that market, and then customize the message to your hiring manager. A couple of things it does. It lets them know that you're active on their role. But it's also really getting that message into them that they have the network that is relevant to that role, so they need to be sharing it and asking their community to share that role again. So just pushing that out. So as recruiters, we may not have as targeted a network as the hiring manager. And that's a visual of what it appears like in your update stream. So been touching on relevancy and targeting. So what's happening here on this slide is, that's my colleague Chris Brown. He came to Juan's profile. Juan works at BP, and BP are owning this ad space on their employees. And so what Chris is seeing is an ad, we call it LinkedIn Pitch Yourself. So Chris is able to see his picture, his name, and his new job title at LinkedIn. So we're doing a lot of matching, and the matching and relevancy around LinkedIn is all driven through the data that we hold. So if you go and look at anyone from BP today, you will see your picture, your name, and your proposed new job title with that company. So that's some of the relevant and compelling advertising we're starting to drive out. And these are our top performing ads, just to give you a sense as from our site on sort of measures such as click-through rates. So I'm wrapping up here, so if there's no questions, we get out early. So five main things to think about for yourselves in the next 24 hours. Enhance your personal brand. That's really important for you as an individual. Updating your status on a regular basis. I'm guilty of that. Don't do it often enough, so we all can improve on that area. Sharing your company's news is good for your PR team, your employer brand, your messaging, etc. Try following a few companies so you see what that experience is like, see the kind of messaging you receive, and then whether you want to engage in a campaign for yourselves around driving followers. And then finally, support your recruiters' efforts. So that's probably the number one piece, because if they're going to recruit on a social platform, the more you're engaged as a wider company, the better the impact that's going to have. So that's me done. Are there any questions? No? Okay.
Stay here for a second. Thank you. So do we have some questions for Richard? And if we do have questions, I think we have a couple microphones in the back, if the guys have still got them. Right, we bring a microphone. Because we are live streaming, we need you to actually use the microphone so your voice gets broadcast to Keith's brother. You missed that. Keith's brother in Portland is supposedly watching us.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
From his ashram.
Hi,
right.
Portland.
Yep. Just push down the red button, and then the orange light should come up. There we go. Right.
Hi, is that working?
No?
No?
I can repeat the question if that
We can repeat the
helps.
question. We need to. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. It's working now. My question is, there was very little about in-mails in your presentation, and as Jennifer alluded to earlier, maybe they're becoming less effective. What's your experience with so many people sending in-mails? Are they becoming less effective?
Yeah, so we haven't.
Perhaps you just want to explain to some people who might not know what an in-mail is as well.
Okay, so an in-mail is a message inside of LinkedIn. So when you invest in certain upgrades onto your account, you get credits that you can send to people outside of your network. We're seeing our response rates still hold between 20 to 30% as a global average. So I'm not hearing they're less effective in any sense. What I am hearing from some of my more maybe thought-leading clients is that they're putting an increased emphasis on calling. They feel that recruitment's going through a shift, and they hold LinkedIn in value in that they can find the candidates and they can send them an email, but they're hiring recruitment teams that pick up the phone. And so I think maybe over the last 5 years there's been a shift of people coming into direct sourcing that aren't comfortable on the phones, and I've got clients that are definitely focusing in that area now.
Is anybody else using the in-mail quite a lot? Do they find it useful? Yeah, right. We have a question here in the down the aisle. Thanks.
Have you ever thought about creating a multiple license for multiple users? I'm asking this because as a team we share between 3 people, and obviously only one person has their name attached, and the whole point of LinkedIn is that personal touch. Now, you could obviously charge a higher premium for that. I just think as businesses grow and more people need this service, that is it something you're considering, because it's missing, we haven't got the budget to buy 3, but if there was one that was sort of 1.5 times the price and all 3 of us could use it, it would add more value. Yeah,
so we've been asked for, some people have called it a recruiter light. So you have the recruiter license, I'm guessing, is that right? Yes. Yeah. So I think that's our premium product, and we're sort of holding that as a single license product. I don't see that dropping. There are other solutions that you can get into, but they're more subscription-led through credit card. I don't see a recruiter light coming into the market. I think the direction we're going is more around investing in that product to make it more valuable to the wider team. So things like Talent Pipeline has been a recent upgrade, so that it's got CRM functionality in it. So being honest, I don't think that'll happen.
Thank you for being willing to take that question, Richard.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Richard? Yeah, we have one down here. And try to hold the microphone fairly close so that you're picked up on the broadcast. Thanks.
Okay, so just back to the discussion around in-mails.
Yeah.
Basically, in my experience using LinkedIn Recruiter, I found that sometimes if a candidate's going to decide whether or not to respond to you, they're going to check your profile out. They're going to look to kind of see, your status, your title, you know, your recommendations and things like that. What sort of tips could you give, perhaps, for a recruiter to be able to, A, measure how influential they are in the market by their LinkedIn profile, and in some ways to kind of build the strength of their profile so that if they do send in mails to people, they're much more likely to kind of get a response rather than being ignored?
Yeah, so there's a newish area on LinkedIn called skills, so you can start to add skills onto your profile, and then rolling out at the moment is something called endorsements, where I can come to your profile and endorse you for that skill that's on your page, or I can actually add a skill and endorse you. So really it's more of a kind of, I suppose, a way of tagging your profile versus putting recommendations on. So recommendations is you asking me to spend time writing a paragraph about you. So whereas if we work on the sort of skills, you're an expert in Java recruitment or whatever that may be, and then people start to endorse you, that's a great way to get that message through to the candidate. I'd also look at putting keywords into your profile of areas you're recruiting, and then if you're going to go on an in-mail focus and start messaging out into LinkedIn for a specific industry sector, then make that your latest update. Just those sort of tactics, join some groups, that sort of thing. So when that candidate looks at your profile, they relate to the conversation you're sharing. So.
And add some things that are more than just words that show your expertise. So if you've done a presentation recently, you know, put the PowerPoint up. If you've done a video, you know, because it's more about, it's not just words. You know, we're on a very visual social thing. You've got a lot of opportunities to add more content about you if you really want to be perceived as that expert. Okay. Time for one more question. Jennifer? Yep.
More a comment. It kind of goes back to, I have a loud voice, so I could probably just scream it, but it goes back to marketing yourself. So everything's about marketing these days. But when a lot of our more junior recruiters in a market have started using InMails and the LinkedIn recruiter account, we've gone so far as to say and get approval to kind of change your title if only for LinkedIn usage, because we have seen an uptake in InMail acceptance if the person has a more senior based title, and it makes sense. So if somebody has a talent acquisition specialist title, say in Romania, I'd say, you know what, you're the only one there. You're head of recruitment or head of talent acquisition for Romania. And guess what? Spike right there in the amount of, you do have to get approvals of that nature, but I'm always happy to have the conversation with the HR director around that because it makes such a difference for them.
Just on that just reminded me of one other tactical tip is when you send out an email, you choose the subject of that, and most people choose career opportunity, and we expertise request is. Did you talk about that earlier today?
no, that's
so
always
you're nodding.
what I recommend they put.
Yeah, so
rather than career.
our research showed that gets a far higher response rate. So put in expertise request. That's a lot more in line with a networking platform. So.